So we're gonna be drawing our wave first, lightly, on our page. Does that make sense? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna draw my horizon line up here, kind of 2/3 of the way up, across. Searching line. And then I'm gonna put a wave, kind of doing this thing right here. I'm doing a curving line here, and then it's gonna break here, okay? And then I'm gonna reserve this white area over here for the white of the crashing of the wave itself, okay? This is gonna be crashing wave. This is gonna be the wave face. This is gonna be the back of the wave over here, coming down. Okay. And then I'm gonna leave some space here for the foam, the water, thinning of the water, and then some beach sand, okay? So I need you guys to draw this right now. I'm gonna kind of erase this area here. Clean this up. Okay. So do this right now. Draw this wave shape out, and then we're gonna do some wet and wet in here on the surface of the wave. I'm gonna take a little bit of this information away here. All right. Again, I'm using a Crayola size 7 synthetic watercolor brush. I might also use, I have a Simply Simmons round number 5. And I also have a Blick number 6 flat. So these 3 brushes I might use. The last painting that I did for this demo, I just used the number 7, size 7 watercolor brush from Crayola. I'm using these really old watercolor pans too that I found in my classroom, because I gave all the really nice prangs to my students for their distance learning kits. So you guys have the best ones. We're going to be using blue, we're going to be using black, a little bit of the forest green, maybe some of the Kelly green, some yellow, brown for the sand too as well. So we're going to be using kind of a really basic kind of color palette for this wave. All right. So how are we doing, guys? Did I give you enough time to draw out the wave? John, how am I doing? Am I good? You good? Are we ready to proceed? Sophie said was ready to go. She's ready to go. She's got that thumbs up. She's ready to go. She's like, let's go, man. All right, here we go. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wet the area that I'm gonna be working, and I'm gonna work right now kind of in this area of the wave face. So I'm just adding water to the wave face, okay? Just saturating this area of the paper where the wave is right now. And we're gonna do all the other stuff later, like the rest of the ocean, the sky, okay? Now I'm gonna mix. I'm gonna start with a light blue. So I'm gonna grab some blue, and I'm gonna mix here on my palette here. Saturate that blue, get it really watery, and then just start dropping in some color, okay? Wet on wet and watch it kind of bloom. That makes sense. And then also kind of spread it around and move it around. Okay. And I want it kind of going in the direction of the wave size. Even though we're not going to see a lot of the brush strokes, it is crucial that you kind of want these brush strokes here. A little bit of space between is fine, you know. I'm going to put some darker strokes near the bottom. Okay. More water over here. The curve is going to be less severe going to the left and more severe going to the right. Okay. I'm going to place these colors right next to that reserved area that I have. It's going to be for the white to the wave. Okay? So again, we're just laying down color right now. I want to keep kind of this area in the middle of the wave kind of lighter, and then the areas also at the bottom are going to be a little bit darker. Okay? So I'm also going to go and grab some green. You might have a forest green or a Kelly green. I'm grabbing more of a forest green. Alright, and I'm going to mix that with my blue that's on my palette and make kind of a teal color or an aqua. Yeah. And while my paper is still kind of wet, I'm going to start pushing in some of these darker colors on the bottom, this teal, and then adding a little water to that, and pushing that up on the curves that I have. You can still kind of see my pencil marks, all right? I'm also going to kind of take some water and stretch that to the shore area, so it becomes kind of like the really shallow water that's breaking on the beach.
I'm here for coffee.
Right there, there's mugs over there in the
I brought my own mug.
Beautiful.
Are you in class?
Mm-hmm.
Say show me the way yesterday.
Hey. So we're gonna take that teal color that we made and again continue pushing that into kind of like the bottom of the waves, and we're stretching that curve as we're going. We're stretching that curve. See that? I'm gonna add some more green to the waves. Yeah. Oh. Getting some good, nice contrast here. So you want to have kind of that contrast. Ooh. I'll put some more water in there. Kind of push that green around. Watch it bloom. Move it around a little bit. There's a real cool magic that is happening when you are applying these colors on wet. So I'm gonna come up here to like the top of the wave and add some of those colors in. Again, continuing that curve. Watching my brush strokes. I don't want it to, loop. I want it to keep it consistent. getting there. So this is kind of a layering process. I'm gonna allow this to dry a little bit before I hit it again. Now I'm gonna go to the back of the wave here, right? So I'm gonna add some blue, grab some more green, and I'm gonna dip my brush a little bit into some black and grab some black to make a really dark tone. Grab some water, and then I'm gonna go and kind of hit the back of this wave, cut into the areas where I've kind of used my pencil to sketch out the edge of that wave foam that's kind of bouncing back up from breaking onto the water. And I'm just creating that illusion of the wave kind of folding over. And because I'm not using white paint to go in later to create like splashes and stuff, it's really important that I reserve some white space. So I'm not gonna go overpaint this area with like a Chinese white or titanium white watercolor paper or paint. I'm preserving the color of white by not painting it at all. So, okay. I'm going a little bit darker, grab a little bit more black, a little bit more blue, and a little bit of green. And grabbing some water. Do a little test. Okay, and I'm gonna just create more contrast. A little bit more blue. A little bit more blue. Yeah, there we go. That's more like it. And while this is wet, I'm just gonna cut in now. Closer here to the foam. I'm gonna really create that contrast by getting close to that foam and just kind of stipple it to get that effect, that contrast. Okay, little water, hit those areas that I didn't get. Just kind of let the paint kind of travel a little bit, move and blossom. And then I'm going to take some water and just kind of these areas here that are dark and I want to transition here, I'm going to do a graded wash. Just grab some of this paint and push it towards the left. See that? Also want to show some movement. So while this paint's wet, I'm going to grab my brush here and flip it over and then just kind of push some of that paint with the tip of the brush on the back side and just kind of cut in with some lines. Yeah. And this is just me using what I have to do this illusion without having to go in with white paint later. Okay. So I'm gonna start using that same color. I'm gonna water it down a little bit so it's not quite as dark as the back here, but I'm gonna start using that down here on the bottom to create that contrast. Okay, moving around, moving around. want to do the top too as well. I'm pulling some of that color down. Not quite as dark. I don't want it to be as dark, but and then finishing this off here too as well. This curve. And then I'm going to use that wet brush, kind of fade all those together. I want to keep, again, those darker things near the top, lighter things near the bottom. I'm going to pull a little paint just by grabbing my tissue and kind of blotting here because I want it to be nice and bright. Grab some more green. Spread that around, add some more green. I might add a little bit more blue to get back to that teal color. Water here. And I'm just slowly building up these values, slowly building up these values. So I'm going to grab some green and black and a little bit of blue, mix them down here, because I really want a dark kind of color tone here. I'm going to go in here on the very left-hand side, okay, kind of pull. I'm going to take that color and I'm also going to go kind of at the top here. Drop that in. drop it in on the bottom too as well. Ever so gently pushing it around a little bit. Get the effect that I want. Just moving paint around. Right? Dropping in a little bit of blue. It's a little bit too shocking. I think I'm just gonna maybe meet that down a little bit. Okay. Grab some of that paint, grab some of the water, shuffle it down. Yeah. That. There we go. Lighten those, darken those up a little bit. Moving paint around. Gonna do a lift. In the middle. So just, you know, use your tissue that you have on hand and you can kind of lift. I want to lighten that interior a little bit. There we go. Some of that down. There we go. Ooh, that's a nice one. Okay. I like it, I like it, I like it. We're gonna go to the top of the wave now here and kind of use a light blue. Really fade it out blue here with a little bit of the green in it. And then we're just gonna kind of clean that up. Fill in some of these areas. I wanna keep some of the white though, because it represents, like, you know, a little bit of the spray coming up. I'm just gonna kind of cut through here and just leave some of that there. What's gonna happen is you're gonna lose some of it because we're gonna paint the rest of the sea. I'm gonna clean my brush pretty good. I'm gonna go through and use that really kind of pale blue that I've made, which is mostly water, and just a little bit of the blue pigment. And just double check. I'm gonna just kind of push in some paint here. It's very light. I want to create kind of like layers, and so I'm like laying my brush and then kind of pushing up. This is gonna create some depth rather than just a block of you know, white from the paper. We're putting this really pale blue in here to show depth. Okay, so put it on the edge here, where on the bottom here where you're still going to have some coloration, right, from the waves hitting, and then the white's going to be where it's, you know, the wave action is really dramatic and making spray. But I'm doing it, I'm kind of building it like I do clouds, but just a little bit more chaotic with the brushwork. We're getting to clouds later. But as you can see, I'm just showing just a little hint. Notice how this is a really pale, it's not quite a pure blue because there's a little bit of that green in there too as well. Okay. And this just gives little dimension to the spray that we have. All right. So now we're going to let's go back down here. Let's grab some brown. We're gonna grab some brown here. You guys have brown on your page. We're gonna put it onto our mixing palette. I'll put a little brown here. We're gonna get some more water. Go into the yellow. Grab some yellow, mix it with the brown, so we get kind of like a raw sienna color. Okay. I'm gonna grab some water from our glass and just kind of start laying down on the dry paper, just laying down some sand here. Okay. Grab some more brown, mix it in with that, and then we're gonna go with a darker kind of burnt sienna right there. Okay. Grab that lighter color, a little bit more yellow. We're gonna continue that over here and kind of fade it all together. Add some water, and just like we do with the wave where it's wet, we're gonna run it into the waves a little bit. So there's a little bit of a color overlap, which is gonna make it look more like the water is going over the sand and that they're interacting. Okay, I'm going to add that to the bottom of the page. Then we're going to go real quick, grab some blue into that maybe area where you're mixing the green blue, and just kind of pull, mix those colors together, pull across, and fade them into each other. If that makes any sense? Yeah. See that? It's really hard for some artists to just kind of let things kind of do their thing. I'm gonna grab a little bit of burnt sienna and a little bit of black and just kind of plop some stuff in here. Add some water, let it bloom, and then stretch it. Give it a little bit of weight in here. Grab some more of that. I like that. Water. I'm gonna shove it right there. Cool. I'm gonna grab my flat. Some of you may have a flat, some of you may not. That's okay. I'm just gonna grab a flat, and I'm gonna grab some blue, and I'm gonna mix it with a little bit of red, just a smidge, and go back into my forest green a little bit. Sample. Okay. My sea is going to be pretty dark, so I'm going to add water to my flat brush and go across the page as straight as I can and just start filling in the sea area. Floating up my brush, going to the edge and pulling across. can without bleeding too much. See that? And I'm gonna add just a little bit more blue to that color I mixed. Add some more water to it. Okay. So I get more of a pale blue sky. Add some more water to it. I'm quickly going to paint as much as the sky as I can possibly paint quickly. Try and get clean lines. It's okay if they're not perfectly clean. Adding water helps. It stretches your paint. I like adding water directly to the page. Now, while this is wet, and we have a kind of like this cool scene between our two worlds here, the sea and the sky, I'm going to grab some yellow, and right on the horizon line, I'm going to pull across. Do it one more time. Go back up and grade this wash here between the two. Grab some blue. Fade. Take some of the browns and blues that I have on my palette and just, I'm also going to just do some random kind of, drop my brush, and push that into the sky too while it's wet. Just kind of have some of those, and I'm not going to necessarily go straight across, I'm kind of going at angles. And it's going to make it look cool once this dries. Okay, I'm going to go back down here and kind of pull some colors that I accidentally mixed by dropping my brush. And that happens, guys. Mistakes happen. It's not really a mistake. I mean, I prescribed to that Bob Ross philosophy. It's just like a happy accident. Look at that. Happy accidents. I'm also going to dip my brush, get some more yellow, put it onto my palette, mixing kind of a watered down greenish yellow. Do a little test. Ooh, it's a weird color. I like it though. But I'm gonna go now, grab some water, and I'm going to put that into parts of my wave here. Just kind of smush it around. I'm gonna hit my 7 and kind of blend that in to my wave. Specifically, majority of the wave face. More. Awesome. Couple more things. I'm gonna grab some black. I'm gonna go into some blue. Make a kind of a dark blue. I'm gonna push that in over on this side, on the left-hand side a little bit. Give it a little contrast and anchors right there. And then grab some water and then move some of this around and fade it in. Right there. Yeah, that's better. All right. So that's the introduction to doing a seascape with a wave as your central focus.